I'm going to go ahead and start recording. John Hildebrand has been, I don't know if it's 2004. I know you came on with Angela shortly after she started the business, so I just guessed 2004.
We're in our 19th year, so been a while.
Yeah, and before that he was at Dex, and he's been in sales for quite a bit of his career, and has always really relied on his communication skills. And I will say, having had the opportunity to work with him for the past 3 years, I have learned a lot about clarity and transparency and communication. So I'm really excited to hear this presentation today. He's done it for us internally before, and I always get a lot out of it. So that's all I was going to say to introduce you. Thank you for stepping in and be our speaker today. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and share this.
All right, very good. So this is, let me see, I need to have control here. Can you give me control? Maybe?
Maybe.
Oh, well, if I don't have control, I'm going to live. So, so first of all, this material comes from a business partner of ours named Marcus Straub, and he's a phenomenal. Angela and I have used him as a life coach, kind of a business coach. He has incredible gifts in communication, and has been, this particular training has been tremendously valuable to Angela and I, not just at work, but in our personal relationship. So our goal when we do trainings like this internally is always to, our hope is to give people skills to grow both professionally and personally, and we'll share some stories about that. So I wanted you to all have a copy of this. I think Manon has emailed it out to all the participants. And can you, I don't think, I still don't have control. Can you enlarge that a bit, Manon, please? Thank you. All right. So listening with integrity is really key. We all work in payroll, and we know that payroll is very unforgiving. When we have job interviews, we talk to folks and we say, you know, payroll is much tougher than any other thing that you've ever done, because the standard of excellence is always 100%. It's not 99%. It's not 99.5%. As a business, if we were only 99% accurate, we'd be out of business in short order. So hearing people, having accurate customer service, accurate conversations with our clients is absolutely critical for us. So I want you to all take a copy of this, and I'm going to kind of tell you what I'd like you to do with it after we've had this discussion. Maybe bring it home over the weekend and work on it when you've got some quiet time to really think about it. So Anna, would you scroll down a little bit on this, please? So what you're going to see is, and I really wish I could have control of this. Can I take control? No, I don't want to stop sharing. I want a point, man. I don't know how it's going to work. Anyway, so each one of these topics, each one of these listening blocks is something that keeps us from being completely 100% present in the conversation and being a respectful and effective listener. So what I'd like to ask of all of you here is raise your hand or put a little comment in the chat if you like being disrespected. Man, can tell me if anybody raises their hand. No, thank you. Yeah. So I don't like it either. That's, if you want to set my hot button off, for me, it's being openly disrespectful. If you want to set me off, that is the one for me. So, and as we look at these listening blocks here, there's a whole series of them that we're going to kind of review in this exercise. Is just know that everyone does all of these at some point in time. There isn't anybody who really, in my experience, who isn't guilty of some of these at some point in time. But at the end of the day, what I want you to do, and man, I'd like you to scroll down a little bit more, um, is as we talk about these, and we can talk, have a little Q&A at the end and kind of dig into them a little bit. But as we talk about these, what I want you to do is try to identify your top three, the ones that you recognize that you do on a regular basis. And one of the tough things you can do with this is bring this list home. Go ahead and do your homework. Maybe print out 2 copies of it. If you have somebody at home that you love and knows you very well, ask them to read it over and see if their top 3 for you are the same top 3 that you picked. Because sometimes people from the outside looking in identify things about us, in all honesty, that we don't really see ourselves doing. And it's incredibly valuable to be able to identify these. So now let's scroll down a little bit more here, just as we look at these different items here. So I don't know if there's if there's another page, or if this is maybe kind of the end here. We got a little one. Okay. So this is kind of your, yeah. So Manon said she sent this out, and Jenny will make sure that everybody gets this. It should just be out as a PDF to all participants. So we'll make sure you get that. Thanks for the comment. So as we talk about these and as we identify them, in my experience, I've been involved in sports all my life. I was a swimmer in high school and college and water polo player. And I started coaching when I was like 17, and I coached judo for about 20 years after college. And I wanted to talk about that just a little bit. So when I teach kids or adults judo, the thing that is necessary, because judo is all about balance. Judo is about getting tripped and thrown and put on the ground. And if you have excellent balance, then you don't get thrown and you win. So, but you cannot change or adjust to your being out of balance until you can feel yourself out of balance. So when I worked with kids, especially, as soon as the light went on and they knew that they were out of balance, then they at that point were able to make adjustments. So part of this, really, the purpose of this exercise is to try to help you. Oh, very good. Is to try to help you. There we go. Now I have control. Thanks, Manon. Is to try to help you identify where you're, quote, out of balance in this, where your top listening blocks are. And when you find yourself doing these things, apologize, go to the person and say, I really wasn't paying attention. Could you repeat that? And restate, and really get back into the listening conversation. And I'm going to say this is a lifelong pursuit here. So I've got a little PowerPoint. Again, let's make sure, if some of you don't have this yet, we'll make sure that we get them out. And it's kind of a fun family exercise, but it absolutely exposes you to the honest comments of your family members, which is sometimes a little uncomfortable when someone says, "This is you," and you don't think it's you. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and let's see here. And I probably need to share my screen. Man, can you all see this? Somebody tell me if we can see this or not here.
No, not yet. I just
Not
have
yet.
screen
Okay,
sharing.
hold on a second. I'm not sure how this is going to work to share screen here, because I want screen 2. Not sure if this is going to get it. Let's see. Trying to get you on the other screen. So can you see it without the notes? Can you see the full screen? Or are you just seeing the part without the notes? Screen share. Oh, here we go. And now we got it. Okay, I got it now. There we are. That's better. All right. So I've already been introduced. So we're going to move ahead here. So this as we talk about this, I want you to keep in mind these words. I want you to be present when you're listening. And this will be kind of a repeated phrase in here. And this is a quote from my dad. He says, he used to say this to me, John, it's hard to look stupid with your mouth shut. So, and I am a sales guy, I'm a communicator. So it's particularly hard for me to keep my mouth shut. So I'm going to say this has been a struggle for me for my life. And I'm going to ask my wife not to make public comments on this, but my natural style is to be more of a talker than a listener. So this is something I've been working on for some time. And this is a work, I am a work in progress, and this is a lifelong process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So our hopes, as I mentioned earlier, is that this will affect your personal life and your business life. So we talked about respect and disrespect here. Anybody feel like this, where you got the talking to the hand business? And not just from our kids, but from coworkers, from spouses, from friends. We really have something important we need to communicate, and it's very clear. We don't always get the hand in the face to talk to the hand business, but it's very clear through these different listening or lack of listening skills that people have that you're not getting respected or listened to. So we've already said the answer to this is no. So I'm going to say, I think being listened to is a really big part of being respected. So I know that when you're not listened to, sometimes you just walk away. So as we look at this, there's winners and losers, but in a conversation, but my encouragement on this is to make this in your office and in your business relationship and personal relationship, make it a team sport. So this is the old Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston picture here. And we have a winner and a loser here. And it wasn't any fun for the guy that's on the canvas here. He's been made fun of for this picture for many, many years. This is actually a picture of my son, kind of a mirrored picture, play football for the Air Force Academy. We don't want to have relationships like this. This is, I whooped your butt and just try and get up again kind of a conversation. And our goal is to create relationships and be a blessing to one another, not to be the winner here. So I think the win is having clear and concise communication. So in sports, this really is true. I've been an athlete all my life, and I got kids that are athletes, and second place is first loser. And there aren't really participation awards in business, so we want to make sure that everybody wins. That's really our goal. So this is a team sport, and the question is, how do we get clarity in this? So any of you ever watch football games and you see all these funny signs up on the side? What the heck does that mean? Unless you're in on the secret communication, you don't know what it is. So in this scenario, who's responsible for the outcome? Is it the coach? Is it the players? Who's responsible for the outcome at home and at work? And what kind of outcome do you want to have? And my view on this is we want to have all sides win on this when we're done. So and that's really how I want to keep score. I want to keep score that in our business, we don't want to have errors, because we do payroll for thousands and thousands of employees across the country. That's not having errors. At home, isn't it just having clear communications that are respectful with everybody in the household? So, and as we're going through this, and I should have said this earlier and I didn't, and it's my apologies. So, does everybody have access to a piece of paper and a pair of scissors? So if you don't, grab one. Just grab a piece of paper, just a blank piece of paper, and a pair of scissors. I'm going to give you all a minute to do this. So we're going to test this theory on listening and communication here. So the question here is, can you give simple instructions? Because whenever we're giving instructions, we think we're being clear. And can you follow simple instructions? Sounds easy, right? And will you get the result you wanted? So in this exercise, this is the paper game, round one. And I want the rules on the round one are everyone gets a piece of paper and a pair of scissors. No questions or talking following the instructions. Just follow the instructions. So let me grab a piece of paper here. And I want everyone to, you got just a piece of copy paper here. And I'm going to give you 4 instructions here. So does anybody not have a pair of scissors in? Do you need a second? Is everybody good to go? Give us a thumbs up in the chat, maybe. Let us know you guys have a piece of paper and a pair of scissors. Are we looking good on the chat side there, Manon?
Melissa needs just a second.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start. Melissa's done this one before. So what I want to do, and remember, no questions, just follow these instructions. Fold the piece of paper in half. Cut off the lower left corner of the piece of paper. Fold the piece of paper in half again. Cut off the upper right-hand corner of the piece of paper. All right, fold it in half one more time. It's starting to get thick now. And cut off the lower right-hand corner of the piece of paper. Man, do you think we can fold it one more time? Or is it getting too thick?
I'm willing to try.
Okay, one more time. Fold it in half one more time. And cut off the lower left-hand corner of the piece of paper. Now, what we really want to do, if we can do this, is have everybody's cameras on, if we can. And I'm trying to get everybody's pictures to show up in the little tiles here. All right, so everybody open up that piece of paper and show everybody else what you got. Let's see yours, Manon. Hold it a little closer, it's disappearing.
Yeah, if you hold it right next to your face, then the camera will see it.
Okay.
Look at that.
See
Totally
here.
different.
These aren't even close, are they?
Mm-mm.
So yours is really cool looking, man. It looks like a little robot. But we didn't get the same result, did we? Maybe just show us a thumbs up or something. Were the instructions clear? Were they simple instructions? Okay. Did you understand the instructions? So, but in our world, in payroll, do we want to give someone an instruction or receive an instruction and clearly interpret that so that we get a common result? Is that important? Say yes, it's really important, okay? Is it important at home that if your kids say something to you, or if you say something to your kids, that they understand, or your husband or wife understands? Every day it's super important stuff. So here's the question: how could we improve the process? And I feel free to turn your mic on and participate here.
maybe be more clear on which corner, like the folded corner or the non-folded corner on the right?
Okay, for sure.
And maybe which way to fold it, like
Hamburger or
this
hot dog?
way or down.
Right? Right? I mean, it sounded really simple, but
Yeah.
obviously the results were dramatically different from it for everyone. So have you ever given instructions to somebody and had the person, and then one of our common ways to talk to people is says, do you understand that? And they say, yes, I understood that. I mean, if I'd asked any of you, did you understand the instruction? You'd say, yep, I understand the instruction. But we didn't get a common result. And we live in a regulated industry in which we need common results. So, all right. So we're going to try this again. And I'm going to say that asking questions, I'm going to give instructions and you can pipe up and ask questions and try to get clarity so that we end up with a common result. So you need one more piece of paper. Okay. Everybody good? Yes, sort of, kind of. Okay, so I'd like you to hold the piece of paper in front of you. Landscape. Not portrait, landscape. Long ways, left to right. Fold it away from you. Okay, now fold it in half, or I'm sorry, cut off the lower right corner.
Diagonally, it doesn't matter how much.
So I don't care how much you cut off. We will end up with a shape. So you fold it in half, right? And now you need to cut off the lower right corner. I think there's one more question we need to ask before you cut. What's the other variable here?
Landscape or portrait?
I'm going to say landscape, but I could have landscape this way or landscape this way, and it's going to make a difference. So what's the question?
Folded corner or not folded corner?
Okay, folded corner along the top. Now cut the lower right corner off. Okay. Now I'm going to fold it in half again.
Which way?
Long ways or short ways?
Okay, good question. So I'm going to fold it with this crease on the top, the open part on the bottom, away from me, long ways. Okay, now cut off the upper right-hand corner. Any
So which way
questions?
did I turn it? Once I folded it,
Right,
it's pointing to me directly. Do I turn it
okay.
the
So
opening to the left or the
I
right?
want the folded edge to be on my right and the open edge to be on my left. So I should have a folded edge on my right and the top. And we're going to cut off, what did I say, lower right corner? I think so. Lower right corner. Okay, now we're going to fold it in half again.
Which way?
Okay, so I'm
Vertical or
going to,
horizontal?
so I have in my hand, this is on the screen, it looks like my left, but on my hand, this is my right lower corner. And it's open to the left. And I'm going to fold it top to bottom.
Is my fold on the top or on the bottom?
Folds on the top.
Are my cuts pointing towards me or away from me?
Your cut.
My
So
cut.
yeah, so my last cut is, the last cut that I made is actually on the back. It's on my side, facing me, on the right side. And the top is folded
Mhm.
and the right hand side's folded. So upper left corner, let's cut that one off. Gonna make a mess of all your desks here. Okay, so you should have a clip corner to the upper left that's open, and then there's a cut corner on the lower right facing you. But you can't see from your side, you can't see the cut. It's actually only cut on my side. And now we're going to fold this. This is kind of landscaped here. We're going to fold it top to bottom. So folded on the top is going to go down to the bottom, and we're going to have the folded side up again, like this. And let's cut off the upper left corner. Any questions? Okay, upper left. All right, let's see what we got. Hey, we're looking. Good job, Jenny. Angela got lost along the way. Teresa looks like she's right. Manon, what you got? Well, Melissa's got it.
Got a little lost along the way.
Okay. All right, good. So if we ask clarifying questions, when you're talking to somebody and they're giving you, if they're telling you a story, they're giving you instructions, a client's called in, or an employee said, I want to make an adjustment on my payroll. Is it common for the people you're talking to not to have the same vocabulary? We have in the payroll business a professional vocabulary. Is it common that your employee or your clients don't use the same words? Right? So we're using the same words, but we're using a different dictionary. So we can make assumptions about what people tell us. So within our office, one of the questions we try to get our staff to ask, say a client calls in and wants to produce a manual check, and we say, the question I want my staff to say is, what are you trying to accomplish? Can you reword that for me? Why are you doing this? Not that we don't want to help them, but we want to make sure it's the right check for the right reasons. So asking questions to clarify, if you came to me with a question that was important to you, and I asked a clarifying question, would that feel respectful to you? Okay, so I think very much so, because I'm trying to make it right. You can say to people, hey, I want to make sure we get this right. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish. What's the purpose of this? So this is really important stuff. So let's see here. So we're going to talk about readbacks here. Oops, wait a second here. There we go. So in the military, when they're giving messages, they do what they call readbacks. Because if you're on the field and you're on the infantry and you are trying to communicate to an artillery that's going to come in, or a helicopter that's going to come in, if you get it wrong, people die. So in the sales process, because that's my particular job is the sales process, one of the things that that I like to do, and Manon can tell you that we do this all the time, is I take notes and then I go back to the person and say, this is what I heard you say. Is that what you meant? Okay. And this is a great skill for not only for business, but for your personal life. So, but the key thing here is both people are becoming responsible for the outcome. So when you get an instruction, or when I get information from a potential client, I'm taking notes and I go back to them and I say, hey, this is what I've understood you to say. Is that what you need? Is that what you meant? And we try to get our staff to do the same thing. So this is a magic read back at home. This is a kind of a freebie. And let me ask you this question. How often have you had a conversation with somebody that has been offended by something you said, but their interpretation of what you said wasn't at all what you meant? And Yeah, I think everybody, raise your hand. I mean, everybody's done that. And is it also common for the person, do we know somebody or have we been guilty of holding on to that negative interpretation of what somebody else said and not allowing them up for error afterwards? So we hold on to that negative, we get it with both hands, or somebody else does. And when somebody does that to you and you say, that's not what I meant, how does that feel? So I don't want to be in that situation with anyone. So this piece here is when you're offended or hurt or misunderstood, these are magic words. Say, honey, I heard you say, fill in the blank, is that what you meant? So the purpose of this, it's kind of a mechanical thing that we say, hey, this is what I heard you say, is that what you meant? And instead of going to the negative, I'm giving that person the opportunity to restate and clarify, because we often say things that aren't very clear. And I have to, in this relational interaction with our kids, with our spouse, with a friend, with somebody we do business with, is to allow that other person to restate, and you need to take off the table the first statement and throw it away, get rid of it. Because if you don't, then you're holding them accountable to something that's not true, and that's not fair. So next thing, lather, rinse, and repeat until you get clarity. So you may go through this process in the same conversation 2 or 3 or 4 times until you both agree that you have clarity. And you can do this. This is a great exercise for home with your kids, great tools to teach your kids. Because how often do we make assumptions based on what somebody else has said or what we thought they meant, because maybe we've applied a motivation to it and we really didn't get to the bottom of what it was, and we miss out on relationships for that. So we already did this piece here. Let's go here. Okay, so this is back to effective listening. So really what we want to do is be fully present in a conversation with no barriers. And each one of these things we're going to look at represents a barrier. I want you to become an active, intentional listener. And I'm going to tell you that effective listening will make your life a better place. So the question is, why don't we listen? Well, we have barriers. And as that PDF that we sent out has these barriers in there. And we're going to identify these and talk about them a little bit and see if we can identify what our top ones are. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. Each one of these barriers is something that all of us do. We're all guilty of all of these at one point in time. At the end of the day, I want you to pick your top 3. But whenever we're doing any of these, we're not listening and we're being disrespectful to the person that's talking to us. So I want to tell you a story about a gal named Diane that used to work for us. And unfortunately, she passed away, but she had a great story here. So this is about placating. Placating is one of the listening blocks. So placating is when we go, So we're making sounds or gestures that sound like we're listening, but we're really not listening. So Diane she was in her late 60s and she lived with her daughter, and she was kind of a hippie from the, back from the 60s. And she dressed that way, sweet as can be, gray hair and braids, just a great lady. And she did lead generation for me. And when we went through this training, she identified one of her top things as placating. And the way she did placating at home was she was an avid reader, and she'd sit on the couch at home, and she lived with her daughter and her granddaughter and her granddaughters, and her granddaughters loved her and wanted to get some of her attention. So when she was sitting on the couch reading, they would constantly bug her and break her concentration from reading by saying, Grandma, I want to show you this. I want to do this. I want to show you this. And she would placate, and the kids are pretty good interpreters of reality. The kids didn't buy that she was really listening, because she was going, oh, isn't that nice? Oh, yes. Oh, that's sweet. But she didn't give them her full attention. So after this training, she went home and she decided to do it differently. And she said, what I did was I would intentionally put the bookmark in, close the book, put it down, turn around, square up to my granddaughters and say, tell me what's on your mind. And she would hear them out, she'd have the conversation. And as a result, because Diane knew she wasn't listening, she wasn't being respectful to her own grandkids. As a result, what happened was the kids felt listened to and they stopped bugging her. So everybody won. Diane got to read her book without constant interruption. And the kids knew that grandma loved her and she was well listened to. So I think that's just a great story. And we miss Diane, but it was a really good example of how these work in reality. So this next one is rehearsing. So rehearsing is pretty common, but in your mind, in the conversation, you are developing your answer while the person is speaking, as opposed to being present and listening. So you have these responses here. The next one is judging. So I don't think any of us like being judged. I probably don't have to really ask that. So when we're judging other people, one of the things that we do here is we think in our own minds that I'm better than you are. Maybe the person isn't dressed right. Maybe they haven't brushed their teeth. Maybe they don't have the education you think they should have. Maybe you just don't like them. So you start with that. But this is really what we do. We're thinking somehow I'm better than you are, and you're less than I am. You're less than me. And I don't think anybody wants to be put in that position. So the next one is identifying. This is kind of an interesting one. It says, well, let me tell you about here. So this is when I went to like I want to tell you, I want to one up you. I want to tell you my story. So this is me here. I want to tell you about how good a fisherman I am. I went to Mexico. Let me tell you my story. Maybe you were trying to tell me about fishing up on the Grand Mesa with your kids, and they said, "Oh, I want to show you pictures of my fish." So maybe I was in Mexico and there's a really big fish, and I want to make my story the most important story. So, anybody know anybody who's an identifier? Pretty common stuff here. So, advising. This is one I'm absolutely guilty of. Unsolicited advice. I love to teach. So one of my loves is teaching and helping people to get better at whatever they're doing. And it spills over into giving advice without permission. So one of my roles at home, and sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't, but it's a rule I'm aware of, is when Angela goes to tell me something, and my as a guy, or just as me, my personality is to let me fix it. So what I've tried to learn to do is to ask Angela, do you want me to listen, or would you like me to help you fix it? And a lot of times it's just, I want you to hear me. I want you to listen, because none of us really love unsolicited advice. Even as much as I like to give it, I don't like to get it very much. So it's not very fair to do it that way. This next one here is sparring. So I'm pretty good at this. I like to spar. I like a good debate. Some people just want to pick a verbal scrap with you. And when they're doing that, you're really not getting hurt, because I'm thinking of a good comeback here. I'm thinking of the next thing, as opposed to just being quiet in my mind and listening. So being right. My wife says I'm really good at this. So she says it's really annoying. Angela, don't say anything here. I'm going to say it's a great way of to miss out of getting better. So sometimes we just need to shut up and listen, and as a result of that, get better at whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to say one of the consequences of needing to be right is loss of a friendship, and it's a great way to be alone. So I'm going to say this is one that I struggle with, because I think I'm a really smart guy and I want to be right all the time. So this is one that's a particular battle for me. So this next one is derailing. So do you change the subject when somebody else is talking? And I'm going to say that there's there's two ways to do this. Sometimes we do this because we're just not interested. All right. And then sometimes we do it because we're trying to have a business conversation. And I'm going to say when we don't listen when we derail because we're not interested, that's just plain disrespectful. We can also use derailing in a positive way. You have an employee that comes in, you have a staff member, and somebody wants to tell you this long story, or maybe you've asked them a question and they go off a rabbit trail, and you say to them, "Hey, I'm short on time today. Can we get back to the question at hand?" And take them off something that's not constructive into something constructive. And I would recommend the way to do this is to ask and to say, "Hey, I'm on a limited time schedule today. Let's work on this together here." But this is how you feel that somebody's just bored with you. They're not interested when people derail you in the negative way. So this is another one. So dreaming. So this is pretty common. So my wife is really a task-oriented person. So she's got on her mind whatever her next task is. But sometimes it's just your vacation. You're thinking about something else and you're not focused on it. And again, this just goes back to what's going on in your head. What's the story? Is your mind quiet and are you just focused on the listening? And again, I would say if you're doing this, you're just not being present in the conversation. You have to stop, and I'm going to say, confess that you did it. Say, "Hey, listen, I wasn't listening. I wasn't there. Would you start again, please?" And it's a very respectful way to get somebody back on board. So, so this is your to-do list. Pick your top 3 off that list that you should all have in hand. When you catch yourself doing it, apologize, stop, redirect, and listen. And this just means, put your hands up and say, "Hey, hold on a second. I was distracted. I wasn't listening to that. Let me, or I was thinking about my vacation," or whatever it is. And just let them know. And one of the challenges with this, and I would encourage you to do it, is go over that list yourself, bring it home to a roommate, best friend, spouse, significant other, after you've done your work, and ask them, "Which one of these do I do?" And sometimes that's a little alarming when someone else tells you the truth about that. So our goal is to be present in business, at home, and in business. And I'm going to say our home and our business have been blessed by getting better at this. Neither Angela and I are perfect at it by any means, but this is something we keep coming back to. So this is a quote from Mother Teresa. It says, "If you judge people, you have no time to love them," which I particularly like. So this is my contact information. Again, big credit to Marcus Straub, who got us on the path for this. And the material that we sent you is from Marcus Straub. I believe his contact information is on there. And if you want a great personal coach, life coach, he'd be super high on our list. The guy is a genius on relationships. So any questions or feedback from anybody here?
Just a big thank you for taking the time to go over this. I get something out of it every single time I hear it. So thank you.
It's such a good reminder to hear it multiple times.
Yeah. And I'm going to say teaching this has helped me to be more aware of it, because anytime you teach anything, you tend to break it down and get better at it. So hopefully I'm getting better. Like I said, I have some real problems in here because I love to talk so much. So this is a real challenge for me. Any of you other ladies, I see it's all ladies here today. So any questions or anything? Again, I challenge you to do this. I'm all done, man. This is all I had. So I hope this was useful time for you all. I don't know if you have any association business to take care of, but I always like getting out of meetings early. So I'm done. Unless you have any questions.
Not seeing any come in, but thank you.
Okay.
I'll send out a recording, and I'll send out the pages that I sent out this morning. So
All right. Very good. I hope you all have an awesome day, and thank you for your time and attention.
Thanks, John.
All right. Bye-bye.